The massive chamber buzzed with hundreds of different voices, clicks, hums, and mechanical sounds as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for another routine council meeting. Ambassador Li Jiwen sat quietly in the small chair assigned to humanity, watching the colorful alien beings debate trade routes and territorial disputes with practiced ease. At the front of the chamber, Council Primarch Velthok stood nearly 3 meters tall, his blue-scaled skin reflecting the artificial lights as his 4 golden eyes scanned the data pad before him. His voice boomed through the translation devices when he finally spoke. "Today we welcome another new species to our galactic community," Velthok announced, his tone carrying the same boredom he might use to discuss weekly supply reports. "The humans of the Sol system have requested membership in our council." A few representatives glanced toward Jiwen with mild curiosity, but most continued their private conversations or reviewed their own documents. New species joined the council regularly, and humans appeared no different from dozens of others they had seen before. Velthok continued reading from his assessment. Single star system origin. Average lifespan of 80 standard years. Bipedal mammals with basic technology. No faster-than-light travel capability discovered independently. Standard Category 7 classification. The Korthax representative, a heavily armored being with 6 arms, let out what sounded like a snort. Another primitive species. How many does this make this cycle? 15? 17, corrected the spider-like delegate from the Arachnus Collective, her mechanical voice precise. Though this one seems particularly unremarkable. They have not even achieved proper space colonization. Jiwen listened to every word, her face maintaining the same polite smile she had worn since arriving on the council station 3 months ago. Inside, she carefully memoized each comment, each dismissive gesture, each assumption these beings made about her species. "The standard restrictions will apply," Velthok declared, consulting his datapad again. "Trade limited to agricultural products and raw materials. No military vessels permitted beyond their home system. Settlement rights restricted to 3 designated sectors. Standard tribute requirements of 15% of gross planetary production." Around the chamber, alien heads nodded approvingly. These were harsh terms, designed to keep new species dependent on the council while preventing them from becoming threats. Most new members complained or attempted to negotiate better deals. Jiwen simply stood up when Velthok gestured toward her. "Do you accept these terms on behalf of your species?" Velthok asked, his tone suggesting the question was purely ceremonial. "We are honored by the council's generosity," Jiwen replied, her voice calm and respectful. "Humanity accepts all conditions and looks forward to contributing to galactic society." A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. The Zephyrian delegate, whose large brain pulsed visibly through transparent skin, tilted her head curiously. "No negotiations? No requests for modifications?" "None at all," Jiwen confirmed with another gentle smile. "We understand our place as newcomers and appreciate any opportunity to learn from more advanced civilizations." Velthok's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, clearly not expecting such complete compliance. In his 3 centuries of service, every new species had demanded something. Better trade terms, expanded territory rights, reduced tribute payments. This human's immediate acceptance was refreshing, if unusual. "Very well," he said, activating the official recording system. "Let the record show that humanity has accepted full council membership under Standard Category 7 protocols." The ceremony concluded with the traditional exchange of data crystals containing trade regulations, territorial maps, and cultural guidelines. Jiwen accepted each crystal with the same grateful expression, thanking the presenting delegates in their own languages. After the formal proceedings ended, several representatives approached her with casual curiosity. The Centaurian ambassador, whose crystalline body chimed softly as she moved, seemed genuinely friendly. "Your language skills are impressive," she noted. "Most new species require translation devices for months." "We have always been enthusiastic students," Jiwen replied humbly. "Learning from others is one of humanity's greatest joys." What she did not mention was that Dr. Kim Hyansu had been intercepting council communications for 37 years, that every major language in the galaxy had been decoded and studied by teams of human linguists, or that Professor Choi Yuna had written detailed psychological profiles of every council member based on decades of observation. As the chamber gradually emptied, Jiwen gathered her materials and prepared to leave. The massive station continued its routine operations around her, thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds going about their daily business, unaware that everything they said or did was being recorded and analyzed by hidden human sensors. Back in her modest quarters, Jiwon activated a secure communication device disguised as a simple tablet. The face of Admiral Kang Dong-hyun appeared on the screen, his expression serious despite being transmitted from a hidden base beneath Earth's moon. "How did they respond?" he asked. "Exactly as predicted," Jiwon reported. "Complete dismissal. They see us as another harmless agricultural species, grateful for their scraps." "Perfect. Phase 1 is complete then. Dr. Song's teams can begin expanding the colony locations, and Captain Yoon can start positioning the transport ships." Jiwon nodded. "They handed us everything we wanted and think they are doing us a favor. The 3 designated sectors include 7 major hyperspace junctions, and the agricultural trade permits will let us establish supply lines throughout their territory." "Any suspicions?" "None. They are so convinced of their own superiority that they cannot imagine we might have capabilities they don't know about." The communication ended, and Jiwon returned to her official diplomatic work, preparing reports that would tell the Council exactly what they expected to hear about humanity's grateful compliance and eager cooperation. Outside her window, the vast Council station continued its ancient routines, maintaining order across 847 species as it had for thousands of years. But deep in the station's lower levels, human technicians worked quietly through the night, installing monitoring devices and mapping security systems with the same patient thoroughness that had brought them this far. The galaxy's newest members had much to learn, and they were very dedicated students. 5 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council, and to most observers, they had settled into their assigned role perfectly. Human agricultural colonies dotted the 3 permitted sectors, their green fields and simple settlements exactly what the Council expected from a Category 7 species. Dr. Song Minji walked through her laboratory on New Busan Colony, checking the latest crop samples with genuine satisfaction. The enhanced wheat was producing yields 30% higher than Earth standard, and the Council inspectors had praised their innovative farming techniques just last month. What those inspectors had not seen were the levels beneath the agricultural facility, where Song's real work took place. Nanoscale machines, smaller than viruses, were being developed and tested in sterile chambers that officially did not exist. Each tiny robot could repair cellular damage, enhance plant growth, or if programmed differently, disable electronic systems with surgical precision. "How is the yield enhancement project progressing?" asked the Council Agricultural Inspector during his routine visit. "Very well," Song replied, showing him charts of improved grain production. "We believe we can increase output by another 15% within 2 years. The inspector, a tall green being with compound eyes, nodded approvingly. "Excellent work. The Outer Rim colonies depend on these food supplies." After he left, Song returned to her hidden laboratory where her assistant, Dr. Park Sunyo, was working on their latest breakthrough. The nanobots could now survive in space and remain dormant for months before activation. "Test Batch 17 is ready for deployment," Sunyo reported quietly. "We can have them in position throughout Council space within 6 months. Meanwhile, across the galaxy on Jeju Station, engineer Captain Yoon Ji-hoon was conducting his own double life. On the surface, his shipyard produced simple cargo vessels and agricultural transports exactly within the specifications allowed for human construction. In the main assembly bay, Council inspectors regularly examined the ships under construction. They saw reinforced cargo holds for grain transport, efficient engines for system-to-system travel, and basic life support systems adequate for human crews. They never looked closely enough to notice that every cargo hold could be rapidly converted to house weapons systems, that the efficient engines were actually military-grade drives operating at 20% capacity, or that the life support systems could sustain crews 3 times larger than necessary for cargo operations. "Another beautiful civilian transport," commented Inspector Vextar during his monthly review. "Your people have quite a talent for practical engineering." "We believe in building things that last," Yoon replied with pride. "These ships will serve the galaxy for decades." That same evening, Yoon met with his construction teams in a shielded chamber deep within the asteroid facility. Holographic displays showed the true specifications of their vessels, including weapon mounting points, shield generators, and tactical systems that could transform a grain hauler into a battleship in less than 6 hours. "Production is ahead of schedule," reported Chief Engineer Kim Dae-hyun. "We now have 423 vessels positioned throughout Council space, all appearing as harmless cargo ships." The most ambitious operation belonged to Professor Nam Soo-jin, whose cultural exchange program had become wildly popular among Council species. Young humans were eager to study alien cultures, and alien institutions welcomed these polite, hard-working students who showed such genuine interest in learning. At the Centaurian Science Academy, graduate student Lee Minjong was conducting research on crystalline communication networks while secretly mapping the entire system's defense grid. Her academic advisor praised her dedication to understanding alien technology. On the Korthax Military Academy, instructor Cho Woojin taught human history to alien cadets while learning everything about their battle tactics and strategic thinking. His students respected his insights into military philosophy. In the Zephyrian Telepathic Institutes, researcher Han Yejin studied mental communication techniques while identifying key political leaders and their psychological vulnerabilities. Her breakthrough papers on cross-species empathy had earned her multiple awards. Each human student, researcher, and exchange worker sent regular reports back to Earth disguised as innocent academic correspondence or personal letters home. Slowly, methodically, humanity built a complete picture of galactic civilization. Status report: Admiral Kang Dong-hyun requested during the monthly strategic briefing held in the hidden command center beneath Luna's surface. Phase 2 is 97% complete, reported Intelligence Director BAE Jinwoo. We have detailed maps of every major installation within 50 light-years. Our people have identified critical infrastructure points, key political figures, and potential allies throughout Council space. What about our defensive positions? Asked Defense Minister Oh Seung-jae. All colonies are equipped with hidden shield generators and weapon systems, replied Song over the secure communication link. Any of our agricultural facilities can transform into military bases within hours. Fleet status. Dong-hyun continued. 431 vessels ready for immediate conversion, reported Captain Yoon. Each ship is positioned at strategic points throughout the galaxy. From the Council's perspective, we have a small civilian merchant fleet. In reality, we have the largest distributed navy in galactic history. Ambassador Jiwoo participated from her diplomatic quarters on the Council station. The political situation remains stable. Both the Korthax Empire and Zephyrian Collective are showing signs of increased tension, exactly as our analysts predicted. The Council leadership grows more concerned each month about potential conflict. Perfect, Dong-hyun concluded. Continue all operations. Maintain the facade of simple, grateful farmers while we complete our preparations. Above the Lunar Command Center, Earth appeared peaceful and rural, its surface dotted with farms and research facilities that supported humanity's modest role in galactic society. Below ground, in hidden facilities scattered across the planet, the most advanced military force in the galaxy continued its quiet work, building strength while remaining invisible to those who had dismissed them as harmless primitives. The patient builders continued their work, knowing their time would come. The tension in the council chamber was thick enough to cut with a blade. For the first time in centuries, the great powers of the galaxy were openly threatening each other, and Primarch Velthok found himself caught in the middle of a brewing storm that could tear apart everything they had built. General Krex of the Korthax Empire slammed his armored fist on the speaker's podium, his 6 arms gesturing aggressively as he addressed the assembly. The Zephyrian Collective has been conducting illegal mind scans on our diplomatic personnel. This is an act of war, and we demand the Council take immediate action. From across the chamber, High Telepath Zinnia's large brain pulsed with angry purple colors as she responded through her translation device. The Korthax Empire has been building military installations in neutral space. Their aggressive expansion threatens every peaceful species in the galaxy. We acted only to protect ourselves. Velthok watched helplessly as both superpowers made their ultimatums clear. The Korthax controlled the galaxy's largest military force and most of the mining operations that kept civilization running. The Zephyrians dominated information networks and held massive influence over dozens of smaller species through their telepathic abilities. Choose, Primarch, General Krex declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. Stand with the Empire, or watch as we withdraw from this council and forge our own path among the stars. The collective will not remain in an organization that supports military aggression, High Telepath Zinnia added, her mental projection making several nearby representatives uncomfortable. Support our position, or lose our cooperation in maintaining galactic communications. Ambassador Lee Jiwon sat quietly in her usual spot, observing the heated exchange with the same calm expression she had maintained for 5 years. Around her, representatives from smaller species looked nervous and confused. Without the 2 superpowers, the Council would collapse, leaving them vulnerable to conquest or economic collapse. During a recess, several ambassadors approached Jiwon with worried expressions. The Centaurian delegate's crystalline body chimed anxiously as she spoke. What will your people do if war breaks out? She asked. Your colonies are positioned between both empires. Humanity will continue to serve the galaxy as best we can, Jiwon replied diplomatically. Though we may need to take some precautions to ensure our people's safety. What she did not mention was the coded message she had received that morning from Admiral Kang Dong-hyun. Phase 3 had begun. All human assets were being quietly withdrawn from potential conflict zones. Across the galaxy, Dr. Song Minji was conducting her own version of precautionary measures. The Council Agricultural Inspector arrived for his monthly visit to find several of her research facilities temporarily shut down. I apologize for the inconvenience, Song explained, looking genuinely distressed. We've had some contamination issues in our grain processing centers. Nothing serious, but we need to sterilize everything before we can resume full production. The inspector examined the sealed facilities with concern. How long will this take? The outer rim colonies depend on your food supplies. 2 weeks at most, Song assured him. We're bringing in additional purification equipment from Earth to speed the process. What the inspector could not see were the teams of human workers systematically removing advanced technology and equipment from the hidden levels beneath each facility. The contamination was simply a cover story for the largest covert evacuation in galactic history. At Jeju Station, Captain Yoon Ji-hoon was dealing with his own version of unexpected problems. Council inspectors arrived to find half of his shipyard's berths empty, with several cargo vessels missing from their regular positions. "Where are your ships?" demanded Inspector Vextar, his compound eyes scanning the nearly empty facility. "Routine maintenance," Yoon explained with an apologetic shrug. "With tensions rising between the major powers, we thought it wise to service our entire fleet. Several vessels are at our home system facilities having their engines overhauled." "All at once? That seems unusual." "Better to be cautious," Yoon replied. "If conflict breaks out, we want our ships in perfect condition to continue serving the galaxy's transportation needs." The inspector noted the explanations in his report, but did not investigate further. Human efficiency and caution were well-known traits that the Council had come to appreciate. Meanwhile, Professor Nam Soo-jin was coordinating the most delicate part of the withdrawal. Throughout Council space, human students and researchers began receiving urgent messages about family emergencies requiring their immediate return home. At the Centurion Science Academy, Lee Min-jong tearfully explained to her advisor that her grandmother was seriously ill and needed family support. At the Korthax Military Academy, Instructor Cho Woo-jin received word that his father had been injured and required his presence on Earth. Similar stories played out on hundreds of worlds as human personnel quietly extracted themselves from positions throughout galactic civilization. Each departure seemed perfectly normal, the kind of personal crisis that happened to every species. No one noticed that they were all happening simultaneously. Back on the Council station, the crisis deepened as both superpowers refused to back down. Emergency sessions were called daily, but each meeting only widened the gap between the opposing factions. During one particularly heated debate, Primach Velthok noticed that Ambassador Jiwon had requested a private meeting. He found her waiting in his personal chambers, looking unusually serious. "Primach, I wanted to inform you of humanity's decision regarding the current crisis," she began formally. "Oh?" Velthok's 4 eyes focused on her with interest. "Perhaps the humans would offer some useful perspective on the situation. We have decided that discretion is the better part of valor," Jiwon continued. "Humanity will be stepping back from active galactic affairs until this crisis resolves itself." Velthok blinked in surprise. "Stepping back? What exactly does that mean?" "We're withdrawing our people from potential conflict zones and suspending most of our operations until the political situation stabilizes," Jiwon explained. "We've enjoyed our time as council members, but we think it's best if we return to our home system for a while." "But your agricultural production, your transportation services?" "Will resume once peace returns," Jiwon assured him with a gentle smile. "We're not abandoning our responsibilities permanently. We simply prefer to wait out this particular storm from a safe distance." Velthok felt a strange unease, though he could not identify why. The human decision seemed perfectly reasonable for a small, peaceful species caught between warring giants. "Good luck with your little war," Jiwon added kindly as she prepared to leave. "We hope you can resolve things peacefully." The war erupted with a fury that surprised even the most experienced military strategists. The Korthax Empire launched coordinated strikes against 17 Zephyrian installations while the collective responded with devastating telepathic attacks that left entire Korthax battle fleets drifting helplessly in space, their crews temporarily paralyzed by mental overload. Within 3 days, both superpowers realized something was terribly wrong. General Krex stood in his command center aboard the flagship Dominator, staring at tactical displays that made no sense. His carefully planned offensive against the Zephyrian stronghold at Vega Prime had collapsed when their supply convoy never arrived. "Where is Supply Fleet 7? He demanded, his 6 arms gesturing angrily at the empty space where his reinforcements should have been. "Unknown, General," reported his aide nervously. "They departed the staging area on schedule, but communications were lost 12 hours ago. Long-range sensors detect no wreckage." On the other side of the galaxy, High Telepath Zinnia faced similar confusion. Her mental network, which had coordinated Zephyrian activities for centuries, was experiencing cascading failures that left entire sectors cut off from communication. "The relay stations are not responding," reported her technical coordinator, his brain pulsing with frustrated orange colors. 7 major nodes have gone completely silent, and 3 more are operating at minimal capacity. "Equipment failure?" Zinnia asked, though her telepathic senses detected something far more troubling. "The stations appear undamaged. They simply stopped functioning during routine operations." Back at the council station, Primarch Velthok paced his office in growing panic. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy describing infrastructure failures, missing supply convoys, and communication breakdowns affecting both warring factions. What had begun as a manageable conflict between 2 superpowers was rapidly becoming a galactic disaster. His aide, a nervous Centaurian whose crystalline body chimed with anxiety, delivered the latest updates. "The Korthax have lost contact with their Outer Rim territories. The Zephyrians report that their trade routes through the neutral zone have completely shut down. Neither side can maintain their military operations at this rate." Velthok studied the galactic map, trying to understand the pattern of failures. Something about the affected locations seemed familiar, but he could not place what bothered him about their distribution. "Send an emergency message to Ambassador Jiwan," he ordered. "Perhaps the humans can provide some insight into these mysterious failures." But when his security team went to locate the human ambassador, they found her quarters empty except for a simple note thanking the council for their hospitality and wishing them well in resolving their current difficulties. The truth began to dawn on Velthok 3 hours later when General Krex and High Telepath Zinnia both demanded emergency meetings. They had discovered something that changed everything. "The supply route failures are not random," General Krex announced grimly as he entered Velthok's office. "Every affected location was previously home to human agricultural or research facilities." High Telepath Zinnia materialized through her holographic projector, her brain pulsing with dark red colors of anger and realization. "Our analysis confirms the same pattern. Every communication relay that failed was staffed by human exchange students or researchers until recently." Velthok felt his 4 hearts sink as the implications became clear. "You think the humans are responsible for the infrastructure failures?" "Not just responsible," Krex replied, his armored form radiating deadly intent. "This was planned. Every human facility, every exchange student, every innocent research station was positioned to control critical points throughout our civilization." The holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with human positions marked in bright red. What had appeared to be a scattered collection of minor agricultural colonies and research outposts revealed itself as the most sophisticated strategic network anyone had ever seen. "They controlled our food supplies," Zinnia observed, her mental voice carrying grudging respect along with fury. "Our transportation routes, our communication networks, our intelligence-gathering systems. For 5 years, they made us dependent on their services while studying our weaknesses," Krex added. "Every delivery, every cultural exchange, every friendly conversation was gathering intelligence." Velthok activated the emergency communication system, sending priority signals to every known human facility. Most responses came back negative. The locations had been abandoned or were operating with skeleton crews who claimed no knowledge of larger operations. Finally, a response came through on a frequency that had never been used before. The image that appeared on the main screen was Ambassador Jiwan, but her appearance had changed dramatically. Gone was the simple diplomatic attire, replaced by a military uniform unlike anything in the council database. "Admiral Jiwan, actually," she corrected when Velthok addressed her by her old title. "I thought it was time we had an honest conversation." Behind her, the view showed what was clearly a warship's bridge, with crew members wearing the same unfamiliar uniforms moving efficiently at control stations. "What is the meaning of this deception?" Velthok demanded, his voice carrying all the authority of his office. "No deception, Primarch," Jiwan replied calmly. "We simply never corrected your assumptions. You classified us as a primitive species based on what you observed, but you never asked what we were capable of. The display changed, showing images of human facilities throughout the galaxy. Agricultural colonies transformed before their eyes, revealing hidden weapon systems and shield generators. Simple research stations unfolded like mechanical flowers to become fortress installations. Innocent cargo ships reconfigured themselves into vessels of war that dwarfed anything in the Council fleet. Every agricultural colony was a military base, reported General Oh Seung-jae as he joined Jiwon on screen. Every research station was an intelligence outpost. Every cultural exchange student was a reconnaissance specialist. Every friendly gesture was gathering information about your weaknesses, added Director Bae Jin-woo. Your languages, your psychology, your technology, your strategic thinking. We studied you more thoroughly than you have ever studied yourselves. High telepath Zinnia's brain pulsed with colors they had never seen before, a mixture of fear, rage, and something that might have been admiration. You manipulated us into dependence while building a network that could cripple our entire civilization. We offered our services freely, Jiwon corrected. You chose to accept them without question because you assumed we were too primitive to threaten you. The tactical display showed the true scope of human operations. Hundreds of installations revealed themselves across the galaxy, positioned with mathematical precision to control every major hyperlane, communication hub, and supply route. Both your empires are fighting with weapons and strategies we have been studying for decades, General O continued. Every tactic you use, every technology you deploy, every psychological approach you employ, we have already developed. The silence in the council chamber stretched for several minutes after Admiral Jiwon's declaration. General Krex and High Telepath Zinnia stared at the holographic display showing humanity's true capabilities, while Primach Velthok tried to process the complete transformation of galactic politics that had occurred in a single conversation. You could destroy us all, Krex finally said, his armored form tense with barely controlled aggression. Why offer negotiations instead of conquest? Admiral Jiwon smiled, and for the first time since revealing her true identity, she looked genuinely warm rather than coldly military. Because conquest was never our goal, General. We studied your species for decades, and we know that the Korthax value honor above all else. There is no honor in ruling over defeated enemies. She turned toward Zinnia's holographic projection. The Zephyrians seek mental privacy and the right to develop without outside interference. Conquest would deny you both of those things. Then what do you propose? Zinnia asked, her brain pulsing with cautious yellow colors that indicated curiosity mixed with suspicion. The display changed, showing a new map of the galaxy divided into clearly marked zones. We propose giving each species exactly what they need to flourish, Admiral Jiwon explained. The Korthax Empire receives expanded territory and full military autonomy within their space, plus exclusive rights to peacekeeping operations in contested areas. General Krex leaned forward, interested despite himself. Peacekeeping operations. Every galactic civilization needs security, explained General Oh Seung-jae as he joined the conversation. The Korthax military tradition emphasizes protection of the weak and maintenance of order. Who better to serve as the galaxy's peacekeeping force? The map shifted to highlight Zephyrian space. The collective receives guaranteed isolation zones where no non-telepathic species may establish permanent settlements, Admiral Jiwon continued. Plus exclusive control over all galactic communication networks, ensuring both privacy and influence. Zinnia's brain colors shifted to interested purple. Communication control without interference. Complete autonomy, confirmed Director Bae Jin-woo. Your people understand information better than anyone. The galaxy needs that expertise, but on your terms. Velthok found his voice at last. And what of the Council? What of the smaller species who depend on the current system? The Council continues, but with a new structure, Admiral Jiwon explained. Instead of trying to balance competing superpowers, it focuses on coordination and mutual support. Each species contributes their greatest strengths while receiving protection for their essential needs. The display showed detailed proposals for dozens of species. The crystalline Centaurians would oversee scientific research coordination. The mechanical synthetics would manage galactic infrastructure maintenance. The aquatic hydrants would control water rights and oceanic territories. You have studied us all, Velthok observed with growing amazement. You know our species better than we know ourselves. We had excellent teachers, Admiral Jiwon replied. Every cultural exchange student, every research collaboration, every friendly conversation taught us something valuable about what each species truly values. Over the following weeks, the transformation was remarkable. The Korthak-Zephyrian War ended not with defeat and resentment, but with both sides receiving better terms than they had ever imagined possible. General Krex found himself appointed as Supreme Commander of Galactic Peacekeeping, with authority over military operations that spanned multiple sectors. "I have never seen such efficient military organization," he admitted during one of the planning sessions. "Your people understand strategy in ways that enhance rather than replace our traditions." High telepath Zinnia discovered that human communication proposals gave her people influence they had never possessed before. "The previous system forced us to hide our abilities," she told her advisory council. "This new arrangement lets us use our gifts openly while maintaining the privacy we require." The smaller species found themselves with protections and opportunities that the old council system had never provided. Ambassador Telvar of the Peaceful Harmony Collective was amazed by the trade agreements offered to his people. "We have always been vulnerable to economic pressure from larger powers," he explained to his government. "Under this new system, our agricultural worlds are protected, and we receive guaranteed markets for our products." Former Primarch Velthok, now serving as coordinator of interspecies relations, watched the changes with wonder. Conflicts that had simmered for centuries simply disappeared as each species received what they had always wanted but never dared to ask for. "How did you know?" he asked Director On Eugen during a quiet moment in the restructured council chambers. "How did you understand what we needed better than we understood it ourselves?" "We listened without judgment," On replied simply. "When the Korthak spoke of honor, we heard their deep need for meaningful purpose. When the Zephyrians discussed privacy, we understood their fear of mental exploitation. Every species has core values that drive their behavior. But the previous system ignored those values. The previous system tried to treat everyone the same," Minister Bae Jinwoo added. "It assumed that what worked for one species would work for all. We realized that true peace comes from letting each species be their best selves." The months that followed brought unprecedented prosperity and cooperation. Scientific discoveries accelerated as species shared their unique perspectives without fear of exploitation. Trade flourished when each civilization could offer their greatest strengths while receiving protection for their vulnerabilities. The Korthak's peacekeeping forces prevented conflicts before they started by addressing underlying causes rather than simply enforcing temporary ceasefires. The Zephyrian communication network allowed instant coordination across the galaxy while respecting each species' privacy needs. Years later, as the new galactic order celebrated its 5th anniversary, Velthok reflected on the remarkable transformation. The chamber that had once echoed with threats and ultimatums now buzzed with collaborative planning and shared achievements. "We thought strength meant making others fear you," he told the assembled representatives during the anniversary ceremony. "Humanity taught us that true strength means helping others become their best." Admiral Jiwon, now known simply as Coordinator Jiwon, watched from her seat among the human delegation. The quiet species that had surprised the galaxy had given everyone the greatest gift possible, the chance to flourish according to their own nature while contributing to something greater than themselves. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson: real power lies not in domination, but in understanding what others need and helping them achieve it.